Yeah, I don't know if I've been on the house.
We're at noon.
We are in, and you're recording, so you're good to go.
Good noon. Not morning, it's not afternoon, good noon. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Before we adopt the agenda, Lauren gave me an update from about an hour ago. And so from conversation with Tom Slayton this morning.
So I spoke to Tom about Jackson's resignation yesterday. He suggests that somebody motion to modify the agenda and add the election of a new president to the agenda for today. But you can wait till Wednesday if you so choose. And then in terms of doing business moving forward and quorum, your quorum is always 4. And a majority of those present will pass any motion. So essentially, moving forward, you need 3 votes to pass anything, and you need 4 of you physically present to conduct business.
If four of us are not present, either in person or virtually, then no business could be conducted.
Right. So when you say business, obviously that includes action items, but does that also include just discussions if no vote is being taken?
You can discuss.
We can discuss. We could have a workshop and discuss.
Making clear. I mean, just in case something happens where,
Yeah, someone's sick or.
whatever, we could still do the discussion items, get those off the agenda, and then next time. Okay.
Yeah. So with that backdrop, I know this is a surprise for all of us that we're operating this way. But with that as a backdrop, before we adopt the agenda, do we have a motion to modify the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
And then for discussion. So the motion is made by Celia. And I'll second that so that we can discuss. And so Celia, actually, thinking of something, what are you modifying the agenda?
Whatever you said.
So the
You make the
modification of the agenda
motion,
was based on what Lauren said, which is
Right.
Tom's advice to go forward and elect a new president today.
So we can move forward.
So that is your motion and I
Yes.
second that. So now discussion about that. Because this is a motion to modify the agenda. And then we adopt the modified agenda, should we agree to that. Any discussion on that? Okay, call the vote. All in favor? Aye. That's it. Cindy, did you vote yes?
I did.
Okay, I did not hear it.
Yeah.
So that's unanimous. The motion passes.
I can't tell, is Jim here or not?
Jim's not online.
Okay,
Is Jim back in town?
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw him yesterday.
Okay, so he's, okay. I thought he's right there.
This is people that are invited, but people actually physically.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There are Paul and.
I'm
me.
sorry. Okay. All right, so we have modified the agenda. Now we can adopt the modified agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the modified agenda?
You made the motion to modify.
No, we've already, yeah.
Yeah, so you've modified, the
Now we
agenda.
have-
You've added the election of a president to the agenda. Now you need to move to adopt the agenda as modified.
Okay, I'll do that. That's modified.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Call the question. All in favor of approving the modified agenda? This is hard. I'm only, anyway.
what was Robert thinking?
Rules. All in favor of the modified agenda, adopting it?
Aye.
Celia, was that a yes?
Yes.
Great. Okay, motion passes. We have a modified agenda. So with that, would you like to proceed with the election of a new president first?
Yes. Might as well.
Okay. The floor is open for nominations for president And that could be a self-nomination or someone else making a nomination. Would anyone like to make a nomination?
I'll nominate Cindy.
Okay,
And I'll nominate me. I'll nominate me.
nominate yourself, self-nomination, okay? So we have 2 nominations.
It's a horse race, as opposed to that treasurer thing.
I am not interested. I'm interested, but I'm not putting my name. So we have 2.
You sure you don't want succession? I mean,
I
that's,
do not, no, I do not want to go there.
There's, I wish Gary was here. There's a caveat in the charter that there's only one of the officers that can hold 2 offices. I believe that's the treasurer. You cannot hold 2, but I believe the treasurer can.
we don't know.
Well, but it's important.
So assuming that's the case,
Well, I know, but I mean, then, you know,
Then you can be treasurer.
assuming that that is the case, then that's just, we'll deal with that.
okay.
In terms of voting, I will suggest that we do a paper ballot, or do you want to do by hands?
I don't have a problem doing it by hand.
What do you want?
Did Jim say he
Doesn't-
was coming to the meeting?
He's working today. He said he'd try to get over here when he could.
Who said?
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah.
He said it's coming
I
yesterday.
said he was coming yesterday. But he had a little confusion.
Yeah,
with the
he thought it was
time.
12 to 5.
I don't think it's a 12 to 5 meeting.
No, it's 12 to 3.
Please, Lord, no.
I
How do you
don't,
want to
I don't
proceed?
care. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference to me. Does it make a difference to you? Does it make a difference to you, Bill? Show of hands or paper ballot?
Show of hands, okay?
Sure.
Or paper?
Hands?
Hands,
Hands is fine.
Hands.
okay?
You want to do?
What do you suggest, Lauren?
Well, in your organizational meeting, you normally give a little spiel about why you want to be president or think you should be president. Do you want to continue with that, or do you want to just take a vote?
I think we all know each other.
I think we don't, Jen. Want to do it alphabetical or reverse alphabet?
I don't think it really matters.
Okay. Cindy was the first one nominated. Why don't we all for Cindy? I'll vote for Cindy. It's tough. Okay. I guess you're
I'm gonna vote.
gonna vote? All for Bill. Thank you. Congratulations, Cindy.
Thank you.
Cindy, would you like to,
One
Ms. Swisher, would you like to take the
No,
chair?
I'll stay here.
One stipulation. Cell phone,
Oh, stop.
no, she needs her
Yes,
cell
ma'am.
phone.
Yes,
She has
ma'am.
to be
I'm on it.
on call. Okay.
Congratulations, Cindy.
Thank you.
So now you are managing the meeting with the adopted agenda.
All righty. So the agenda says East Village, but Lauren, did I hear you say we're going to start with Green Lawn?
Yeah, because you all have the green lawn, but we'll start with green lawn.
Is there any material available for us?
Rose, can you have Rosie? Is Rose over there?
She
Natalie,
went
can
to go
you,
get Celia a
Oh,
bottle
she
of
went to
water.
give me a bottle of
can
water,
you
I'm
have Rosie
sorry.
print extras for the,
Is there something that has affected each of the service areas that you'd like, give us a heads up?
reserve fund transfers are the biggest drivers of your increase this year for the vast majority of the service areas.
Because we had the reserve,
Has there been any
Study.
change to the per door fee?
Yeah, you do have a change in the per door fee. It went up 8.5%.
From 300 to 360?
325.50.
Oh, 3.5.
What are we talking about?
Okay.
You also have coupon books that are included in their budgets this year, which they were not previously charged for, and CROA ate that cost this year.
All of them. So for anybody who doesn't know, The association is reimbursed, let me start from the beginning. A service area is a condo or a duplex or a triplex, any of those buildings that you see in town. Those folks pay a little bit extra to CROA, so they get their lawn mowed, they get their unit painted, they take care of the roof, and so they don't have to worry about that. Then they also reimburse CROA for any time that is spent on the maintenance area, so that's what that $300 a door was, and now it's going up to $325.50. Again, they pay us a second assessment, so they get coupon books. Most of them pay monthly, Artisan pays quarterly, and Parkview pays quarterly, I believe. So they get coupon books. Last year, CROA absorbed that cost. This year, the service areas will be absorbing that cost for just their units. So if there's 6 units in a service area, then it amounts to 6 coupon books, I guess. I'm assuming they get one once a year. Okay? That's what that's about. I'm sorry. Oh, that's good. Okay. So who wants to open the discussion on green lawn? Does anybody have any questions? Is there something that
So
you'd like
right
our
now,
attention to?
I would call your attention to the fact that they are $3,900 short in their reserve contribution this year. So that's one of the other reasons that they're looking at a steeper increase
Do we know?
On the annual basis or cumulative
for the year.
for the year? Okay.
So that's going, well, I would have expected. Wait, there's one. Okay, extra column. Maybe I have to go back to wearing my readers. So it's going, last year, the reserve contribution was only 40,000, it's going to 47,002 this year. So that has a big impact yet.
Is
You
part of
only
the
have
reason for
20
the
units.
shortfall this year that half of that was from last year, carry forward? The
Natalie,
2021,
what is their shortfall this year in the reserve?
did that make sense?
Was there anything as far as, I mean, anything with line 15 wasn't included in this, right?
No.
I mean, we haven't done anything extra or additional as far as project wise for them.
Some of them are, there's 2 people behind in their dues that I think, so their operating is running low and we couldn't make the transfer.
There's two. Do you know or remember if this was adjusted since the last iteration of the reserve
So
study?
their funding plan recommends $51,100 to be included in their reserve transfer this year. We can't do that because that'll push them over the 20% increase.
Mhm.
And 47.2 is the highest you could do for reserve fund transfer to keep them under the 20%.
And I'm assuming that's more
Then
this iteration of the reserve study than it was the last time, probably because of inflation and stuff like that. So their assessments are going to be going up almost $60 a month.
the original funding plan from the 2019 reserve study was 45,700 in 2023. So that's a decent jump.
Anybody else see anything as they go down the line that they have a question about, or? Guessing they have to move the 2023 over to the right, I keep looking to the left.
Left, yeah, left to right.
What, the asterisk, January through May, what is that for general maintenance?
That's what the projected actual was based on, was January.
Are we gonna think about taking a mulch out of the future scope or landscaping?
I think we're gonna be putting it back in a hole. That's the request of the other ones we've met with, so we're gonna include
They
it.
don't want pine straw?
Some of them do want pine straw. I know Parkview wants pine straw,
Spring Lake Gardens
Spring Lake Gardens wants pine straw,
and probably Spring Lake
and
Channel.
probably Spring Lake. So I think in general, probably gonna have to move to pine straw.
Yeah.
All around.
So, and that would create some savings in their landscaping budget, but not a significant amount.
On reclaimed water, projected year end for this year is 957 and it's jumping to 2. Is that because the actual? Don't know.
They did a bunch of sprinkler repairs in Green Lawn this year. I know on 915 alone, because we discussed it with her at
Oh,
length.
so this is one of the cases where they were broken and you found out and fixed them, so now it's gonna. Okay. For those of you who
Just point of order, we still don't have copies.
we don't have what? Oh, copies.
We have no materials. I came to the meeting, I'm accustomed to having materials. Normally it's posted online, it wasn't posted online. I've been to several meetings lately and the materials haven't been ready. This is not good.
Mike, we've got the financials and everything. Would you be good with just this?
I
Or
don't
do you
know what
want
this
the-
is. I
Oh,
don't know
I'm
what
sorry.
anything is.
This is the spreadsheet for the service area.
I'm getting them copies right now.
Okay.
Yeah, you take mine because I don't understand any of it.
Should be a- There should be additional.
She can share with
copies
you.
that should have been posted online.
Not having done this before, just process wise, I assumed that we were gonna have some of the representatives from some of these groups here today.
So that's why we were having it today.
Yeah.
This is the group that doesn't have committees.
They don't have any
Oh, they don't have any,
representatives.
but didn't, I still thought that maybe some individuals
No,
were invited to show up.
the only the service area committees met this week and next
I
week.
got that.
And then
But
today
these
was
three-
gonna be the ones that don't have anybody on the committee. So who would you invite, right?
But I mean,
So we did send emails
did,
out.
okay.
Oh, you
Well, if I
did?
didn't,
Good.
if I lived there and there was no committee, I still want to show up.
We did send
They were
emails.
noticed of the meeting,
They were invited,
Okay.
so answer your question.
I think for the most part, service areas for the most part, committees are new.
Would you like a copy too?
The president ought to have copies. The president ought to have
I'll
copies.
share with you.
You take priority. Buy them.
Yeah, that's it.
Jeez.
Which glasses?
I know.
It's
I need glasses when I don't need glasses.
We're getting complete sets.
Okay. Sure. Sure. So the water, I think I was about to say to anyone who happens to be listening, in the course of their due diligence, when Grand Manners came on board, they had the landscapers check things like irrigation systems and whatever, and they found several areas where the irrigation had not been working. So they fixed them. So that will, on one hand, it will help alleviate the problem of dead grass and plants because now they're going to be watered. But on the other hand, it's going to raise the water bill. So that's what that's about. And that could be the case in many of these, if not all. All, and all.
Yeah.
And part, all.
For green lawn?
The one is costing now, $13.
Okay. And the administration, electricity, not much of an increase there. Administrative fee is next. That had a $500 effect for next year. That's not too bad. Coupon books. Why is, am I on the right line? Yeah, why is this going down? Their coupon books. The projected for,
It's, that shouldn't have been projected.
What's that?
it's.
It shouldn't have been projected.
It shouldn't have been projected.
That's wrong. So the
Yeah.
$308 projection is wrong, but that doesn't affect the
No.
160 is a good
160 is
number,
Good number.
and that's reflected in here. Okay. That's right. That's wrong. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, but it's different from the other day.
Okay. And then legal professional, there's nothing budgeted, you don't foresee anything? Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
So so the budget, proposed budget for 23 is down from 22? Am I reading that correctly?
From the 22 projected
Projected.
actual, because you had a significant legal expenditure because of one resident in that
Got it.
grouping.
Yeah, that 4,058. Second line from the bottom. Under 22 actual projected, David, you see it?
That was from all.
And so
Yes.
Yeah.
help me understand why we need a 20% increase for 2 years? Is it because if you go back in time to 21, the actual for 21? and the
We can't make the full reserve fund contribution this year because we are bumping it into that 20%
max,
number.
that max. Okay,
You should be making a over $50,000 contribution and you're making 47,000.
got it.
So, yeah,
What happens with that with the catch-up? How do they get caught up? Is this just becoming a rolling thing, or do we start next year with another shortfall?
You can either try to catch up with jumps and increases for the next few years, or you can, the other option is a special assessment. I don't think you're at the special assessment level yet, but depending on what happens next year.
well, and then two, with all things being equal for 2024, you're not going to have that $4,000 thing that affects the percentage of increase going forward. So there'll be, extra fund, you can keep their assessments the same, but have more go into the reserves if necessary, but you're not going to have that
Have what?
that $4,000. That $4,000 doesn't affect the reserve fund, but it affects the percentage of increase
Right.
that they're
Right.
paying.
Right.
So that'll give a little, more cash flow.
So we need that as much as we can to the reserve fund transfer to get it up to a level for a future major expense,
Yes.
like roofing or whatever's on the reserve study.
Any other questions? Okay.
I got it. Thanks.
Got it? Okay.
They're up for a painting job in a couple of years and for fence replacements in a year. So they have two large expenditures right there coming.
Okay. Hey, Jim.
Sorry, my apologies.
Okay, so,
Before you go to the next one, can I ask
Yes,
a
sir.
question?
Of course.
I have what appears to be the year-to-date with all the backup journal entries and everything else.
Mhm.
And then I have the reserve expenditures, but I don't have a green lawn budget.
that's this paper that I handed you,
This right here.
colorful one, where I said, put your glasses on.
Got it.
Okay.
This is what you're talking
Or do you want the detail?
I think he said he's got everything else.
I don't want the
but-
detail. I wanted the budget. I couldn't find the budget. I was going to just explain it's on this sheet. I went through all this material and couldn't find it.
Sorry. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Somebody want to make a motion to approve this?
Motion to
I'm
approve.
sorry, what are we approving? I did miss that part.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, dude. At
Yeah,
Parkview the other day, we didn't approve anything. Doesn't it get approved at the meeting on Wednesday night?
Yeah.
So-
But I mean, Joe, but this, we're saying is it okay that we're not going to, wait, hold on. So we're going to actually approve it on Wednesday. And after that, then it will be mailed to the owners
Correct.
for their
Yeah.
conversation on it. So We just move on? Okay.
What's our recommended action?
To approve.
That we would approve.
As stated here.
Is it an increase?
Yeah, $60 a month.
This is
Oh, I thought you had it done.
You just, no, you just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I turned to you to see if you had it.
No,
You said that-
I ended up not sleeping on our red eye on Wednesday, so,
They put you down. Okay. Look at here, show him mine, but then,
So we're not, I mean, we're basically blessing 4 of these individually today, assuming that we're going to
Right.
bless.
Like we're pretend committee members, like they did with work.
Like we did for the big budget last week.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the formal vote comes,
Wednesday.
like next week, we're approving what we're sending to the residents with the master budget and these service area budgets. We're not actually approving the budgets. We're approving what we're sending to the residents as a
Right.
proposed budget.
How do we close that loop? Because I've not been involved in the process.
Then
When does it
next month,
become-
we actually approve the budgets.
Right.
Is that what your question is?
Yeah.
in
in
October.
October, you
Yeah,
final-
the-
you make a
the
final
next-
vote.
So next week, we approve what we send to the residents,
Mhm.
and pending any later thoughts or reflections or pushback that says, hey, you miscalculated this, or then it gets formalized.
So next week, we're gonna approve a tentative budget.
Proposed
Well,
budget.
proposed, right, wrong
What
word.
we're proposing to the
Right.
residents. Yes. It's confusing.
But, so changes can be made until we finalize it in October, correct?
Good.
Could be made, I should
I don't know what that process would be. If we mail that out, do we need to do another mailing if we propose some other changes? That's a question.
Are these gonna be mailed in the mail or?
Yeah.
Yes.
After the.
To the service
October
areas.
1st.
And everybody else.
Yes.
And everybody else, because I used to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But service areas will get 2 mailings or 1 mailing with 2 things in it?
Probably 2 separate mailings.
2 separate mail, okay. Okay.
So, moving on, I guess. Are we ready to do
East Village.
East Village?
These village duplexes?
Mhm. I'm taking the staples out because these things are.
East Village goes up, East Village goes up a little bit more than the others.
Yeah, we need to make changes for that. And basically, we need to adjust their reserve contributions to
East Village
Get
is
down
really
to
one
the-
of two.
20% range, but they don't
This
have a
is,
large.
this is gonna be, there's only 6, there's only 6 units in East Village duplexes. And if by chance somebody doesn't pay their assessments, it really
Correct.
has
Yeah.
a huge impact
Is that what happened?
on
Oh,
what's
a little bit.
happening.
So we're basically underfunding their reserves to bring them down to 20%.
Do you have anything big coming up?
But technically needs to be right under 20%, correct?
Like,
Like
Did you get anything?
19.99.
Or at, right.
Did you get anything,
It would
Mike?
be
It
20.
can't be
But
20.
not-
I'll look it up on the screen, it's pulling up on the screen.
Okay.
Their next large expenditure is in 2030 as projected by they have, and that's painting.
Yeah, they're doing painting this year. They just got their roofs done.
So those, anything this year is in the 0 column.
Correct.
And for your benefit, Jim, real quick,
Mhm.
the things that affect all these that we're looking at and the ones that we'll be looking at Wednesday is they pay, service areas pay an extra fee to CROA. Here we are, okay. So then CROA gets a per door fee for labor and stuff like that that is needed to maintain and do things over there, like the
Okay.
service areas.
Yep.
So that is going up from $300 a door to $325.50 a door.
Okay.
And then the other thing is their coupon books. They weren't charged for coupon books last year. They are going to be charged this year. So and it's a month, it's an annual thing for those that have monthly fees. And also for the two service areas in Arts and Parks, so it's Arts and Park and Parkview, there's a quarterly. But they're billed once a year, so that affects everybody. Okay. So anybody see anything that they have any questions about? We've already said we're not putting quite as much into reserves, or did we not? I'm sorry.
We need to adjust it down.
We can't be above the 20.
Right.
It's at 22% increase now. 13,000 is the recommended contribution, so that'll be adjusted down to get to the 20%.
Which will have what kind of an effect on their payment? Probably around $65 maybe increase or so. And that's a month.
Each set is the set that I got from me this year for all the townhouses. I mean, for all the,
So if I
Services.
underfund it by 3,000, I get them down to a 9% increase, which is $29 a month.
Really? Down to a 9?
Because it's only 6 buildings.
Because it's
What
only-
did you,
it's a small
what
budget.
did you,
If I underfund it by $3,000, then it gets them down to a 9% increase. Because it's such a small budget.
I don't think we should do 9.
What was that with reserve being what?
At $10,000 instead of $13,000.
What if we do, I thought we were trying to figure out what got it close to 20.
Yeah, I just started with 3,000. just to see
12.
what's in them.
Well,
That's 18%.
Yeah, I think,
I think that probably better to keep it a rounded number,
for simplicity.
getting closer to the 20. What's everyone else think?
so you're gonna change to 13,000?
So 13,000 to 12, and then the 23% goes to 18%.
how do you feel about your budget numbers for the regular expenses? Did you do it tight? Did you try to put a little cushion in?
There's not a lot of cushion in there in these budgets. The termite bond is a contract, landscaping is a contract, mulch is a known number, power washing is a contract, general maintenance, we kind of underfunded because we're only projected to spend about $377 this year. And then the administrative fee is what it is, and the coupon book fee is what it is. There's not really much else there. They were not budgeted in 22 for irrigation repair, but they have spent money in
But they
both
had-
21 and 22, so we budgeted for
Yeah.
irrigation repair. We can bring that number down.
Well, no, actually, I'm thinking the opposite. That since there's only 6 units in this property, if 2 people aren't making their payments, that's a lot. I'm thinking that maybe we should, for lack of a better term, pad some of the regular operating expenses to bring it to 20. So if somebody doesn't pay, you're not going to run into the issue where you're going to get the money
So
from.
the best practice would be not to pad the expense, but to add a new line item for bad debt.
Anybody else think that might be a good idea?
yes.
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 Yeah.
And is this area has a history of bad debts,
Yes,
more so than other service areas?
yes. We have a couple that are usually behind.
Well,
we
and
have
a
to
couple
double
with a
check.
small unit makes a
Yeah.
big difference, is your point.
33%.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Okay, so we can add a bad debt.
Yeah.
To get them to 20.
Then that goes back to your point.
Okay, so then the reserve contribution comes, we're doing 12,000, and then bad debt will be 1,000.
Oh, no, it'll
Or
be-
whatever it
Quite a
takes
thousand,
to-
yeah, 700 or something like that.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Question on the reserve number. This says it's 3.5% rate. I think in the CROA budget, we're at 8%.
We use the
No.
3.5 number.
We're at 3.5 there.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're gonna lower the 3.5 on this one.
Yes,
But this is 3.5 now, isn't it?
I had to lower it to get it below. If
Oh,
I
sure.
fund at the full 13,000, I'm at a 22% increase for them. So I can't increase more than 20% without doing a full vote of that community. And they don't have any large expenses coming up for the next 5-6 years.
So is everybody,
How are you gonna put that debt expense in then? You're not gonna cover it.
So right now at funding this at 12,000 for the reserves puts me at 18%. So then
You got 2%
I got 2%
for bad debt.
for bad debt.
And you're talking about something that will protect against the default of one of six.
Yeah.
This is gonna protect against the default of one of six in any manner, shape, or form.
No, it's not.
So why go through the exercise?
Well, but if it's something they should be doing and aren't doing, maybe we can use that as a tool in their budget.
Can't do it because you're at the cap. You can't do it at a reasonable level.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
You're barely gonna be able to cover a missed month by one person.
Yeah.
so what are we saying?
He's saying that it's not worth,
You're gonna back
Putting
into the
in-
20%.
yeah.
Back to the 20% deal with it, somebody defaults, you've got to deal with it.
Okay. So. Okay, so we're going to still go with reserve fund transfer at 12 instead of 13. And then not add a bad debt for me?
No, what we're determining it's not worth it.
Not work, so we're not going to add it.
Since you're already capped at 20% increase, it's not worth the exercise to include a bad debt.
Okay.
So the alternative is if you have people not paying, rather than having the bad debt as funds to make up the difference, we're back to their owners. We're having to charge a special assessment because we have owners that are delinquent, we can't pay the bills. That's the only option you have.
Well, isn't it better to put the bad debt in and not,
But you literally can't, because if
You're
you
not
have
even
bad debt, it makes your assessment north of 20%, which you can't do under the charter.
but can't you put whatever the amount is that would bring it up to 20%, you can't put that number in bad debt?
It'll just barely cover the loss of 1 month's payment by one person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if I were there,
Do we want to try to push the 12 up to exactly 20%, so it becomes 12 whatever? 12.5. or-
Again, I don't think any of these things are gonna change the outcome.
Yeah.
There's too little money, too few units. And you just have to take it as it is. And if they have a disaster and we're short on capital funds, or a third of the people stop paying their fees,
Deal with that then.
have to figure it out at that time.
So we're leaving in the 13,000.
I like that, a third of the people.
12?
well, you have to bring it under the, we're going to stay with round numbers and bring it under the 22%. Okay. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, and at this point, I have nothing else.
Roseville?
Do I have Roseville?
Well, we just have those two.
Yeah, we only have these two. I don't know that we, which one? Oh, I don't, oh, you still have them. Okay, as I say, if you're still taking copies, I don't think we need all these checks and everything.
Good, I was running out of paper.
No, just to divide them.
Good, thanks.
I think I have Roseville.
I think I got the other day.
Just fix it.
Well, see if Mike Celia's copy, she has a,
If you put it on the board, I'll go stand by the board. But you don't need all that backup detail or check disbursements or whatever else.
yeah,
So
no,
if they stop making those copies, they can tell them to get the other ones back.
They're all done, so.
Okay.
I'll do that.
this process is new to everybody that's here now, I think.
Roseville is at a 19% increase, making their full reserve contribution.
Really?
These are my neighbors.
They have 44 units.
So I have a lot because I think we have a roofing project coming up. Roofing and,
Laura,
Yes.
a question. Assuming we hire the CROA guy who's just going to do power washing and sidewalks and stuff, does that apply to the service areas? So they're not gonna get the benefit of that?
No.
Okay.
The problem is they'll need lifts to do the 3-story, and we don't want to pay to rent a lift and the insurance to put somebody
Right.
on the lift
And your guys just doing, I mean, your guys just doing sidewalk.
from the ground.
Okay.
Roseville's the next large expenditure. It says they're scheduled for painting in 2024.
We could take a look at 2023 and see if we need to push it out a year or more.
They're also scheduled for fences and shutters in 24.
Is the reserve fully funded here?
Yes.
Okay. So if you can answer that for each one as we go, so that takes that off the table, is it fully funded or not?
Some clarification, this is based on the most recent reserve study, which was
Correct.
done when?
Earlier this year.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the reserve contributions jumped up.
Thermite bond is going down.
Why did it go down?
Some of them went down.
Really?
We got a better contract.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
Do you know what Roseville has done in the past for mulch? If it's not in the contract, what did they do?
It was in their contract previously,
Oh, it was in a prior,
mhm,
in the prior contract.
but it's not in their current contract.
Wow.
I remember there on the CROA one, there was that $80,000 line item that we looked.
So the other way to find cost savings here is to use pine straw
Mhm.
rather than mulch,
Roseville also has a huge drainage issue.
which would probably address some of the drainage and losing the mulch and the appearance as well. So that would adjust this price down.
This is the sort of discussion we would love to have with residents with a service area committee, the advantages of having a committee so we can see their take on things. Dollars, the dollars for mulch or not.
I'm assuming that this gentleman, other than
Yeah.
who's not Mike, are you a resident of one of these service areas?
Roseville.
Roseville, this one.
You're in Roseville?
Oh, good.
So how do you feel about mulch?
Mulch
versus
or
pine
pine
straw.
straw?
If we would get mulch, I don't think I've had a layer of mulch in the beds for 5 years.
No.
Roseville was done.
Yeah.
With Jacob.
Yeah.
Maybe it washes out that quickly.
Yeah, because they have the drainage situation.
I was happy to finally get some grass put down in some spots.
Is that another new leaf
What
benchmark?
street are you on? If you
No,
don't
that was
mind me
prior.
Celebration Avenue.
asking? Celebration.
They were
Avenue.
completed prior.
Wonder
What's your
If it's
address?
washing away that much, I wonder if it's a similar situation
It's just very similar to.
that we
Spring Lake.
saw at
Mhm.
Is with New Leaf the landscaper that was last year at the service areas?
Yes.
Because when we went looking for that meter at Parkview,
Mhm.
I just mentioned to Jacob, because he was there too, I said, there's some mulch, and he says, well, we only do that once a year. So they only do it once a year. If he was correct that the service areas are only doing it once a year at that time, you know, that could wash away very quickly, depending what time of year it was, and then, as you said, you don't have any money.
I mean, you see, we just did all brand new mulch at Spring Lake Townhomes and it's all gone. We literally did it a month ago.
But there they have
The
drainage
drainage, and
problem.
then they have
Well,
it the
that's
same.
what Roseville has.
And-
too.
and-
I think
yeah,
it's one.
So, so Chelsea lives on Celebration Avenue. He's got the drainage issues. We were at Spring Lake the other day. Do you think that discussion we had about putting the hole in the curb and draining it out into the street?
I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of it too is a lot of their homes don't have rain gutters on them.
Yeah,
And,
well, Spring Lake didn't have any.
but if you look on the side of their home and where the bushes and everything go, the water just runs off the roofs and then
Right.
goes like this.
Right,
Happens in the houses too.
right.
So it's a little bit of both. They need rain gutters and they also, I actually had Vigilant out with me. Remember, what's his name, walk with us?
Yeah.
They have drains on their lawn like they have down in Spring Lake?
Getting back to that curb solution, which I particularly like, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure we can do it, but then that's the thing.
Is that
That's the
called a
thing.
French drain?
Before we start punching holes in the county's curbs,
It is the
Yes,
county's curb. That's what I'm
we
saying.
need to confirm that we can do that. And I know it's been done in a few locations, and I do it myself in a shot, but we just need to be sure
Yeah.
Right,
That's what I said. We have to
that
get
we can
permission.
actually do that.
and then they would have to put a cover over it so we don't have a rodent living
Correct.
in there.
For those that missed the tour last week, you get that little green thing right on the edge of your curb, and they're the same height, and the water pressure pushes the stuff out, and it kind of flows over. It'd be a whole lot more efficient if we just cut a hole from the curb right into the little green holding tank there. But it's not our curb, so whether we can do that or not is another issue.
Is it in the lawn that we're doing it?
No,
No,
it's in the
you're cutting a
curb.
hole.
It's in the actual curb.
Yeah,
And so
actual
water
curb.
would,
And there's no
water
way
would
the water
spill
to
right
escape.
out into the
Yeah.
street.
So it just builds up.
Some
and
days like a
backs up
fire
and backs
hose.
up and backs up.
The common question that returns every year is the covenants of depth of mulch required and the covenants on rain spouts on a craftsman home. So those are two things set in charter, pretty much. If you are removing mulch, is there verbiage in covenants that allows for a density of pine straw?
I think we talked about that.
I don't think
There
that's,
isn't, only in the houses.
no, he's talking about
The
density, so
covenant.
how deep.
How
He's
deep
talking
it
about
has
how
to
deep
be
it has to be.
Yeah,
per,
but-
per,
And that is
Covenants.
listed specifically
Mhm.
for
With mulch.
how deep mulch
But I don't
should
think
be.
the same thing holds true for pine straw.
I think it does.
You
Because
do?
if you look when CDC and everything does around the tree rings and everything in their areas, there's a certain height and it's a certain
I
height.
think
that
it's
it
3 inches.
Repeat, I think it's 3 inches and it's repeated around. Same, I think it's 3 inches.
But the discussion we had the other day about mulch, when Gary got up and says it's only in the homes, it has There's nothing to do with the service areas.
Well, no, the service areas fall under the homes in terms
They
of
do?
covenants.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just
Not
Just talk about the
CROA
parks.
properties.
the fire.
Okay, books. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right. It has to be 3 inches.
Well, then there's a consistency because there's people in the service area, and then there's homes, and then there's people in the service area on Old Brush Road.
I don't want to distract you from what your task is, but I just want to comment on Spring Lake because we own a home there also. So I'm very familiar with it. The problem is when the thing was platted and David Weekly built the homes, they're basically 0 lot line homes. So your permeable space versus impermeable space is out of whack. And you can't change that. If you go back to the original other neighborhoods, a village home has to be, a village lot has to be a certain percentage permeable and so on and so on. So we did an expansion at our house on Sycamore, and we had to go through that whole calculation, and I couldn't go any bigger in the backyard because of that, and for drainage. That makes sense. Why in God's name we said in Spring Lake we weren't going to think about permeable versus impermeable? It was such a big deal in every other village. Then we go to an area that's called Spring Lake. It's called Spring Lake for a purpose. There's a lot of water there. Same thing in Island Village,
But
drive
that's
through there,
Mhm.
and it's basically 0 lot line again. So if you're thinking about driving holes into the curb, and that's gonna be a weeping type thing to take the water out of the lawn, I think that's kind of crazy. But those boxes at the curb, the community should somehow help subsidize those to rectify that situation. And it would take pipes from the downspouts to the road or an access point with those that dump water into the road. At our house, and some of you know this, David knows this, at our house there, we're on a corner, and in the back, the water runs underneath towards our house, and we had power failures, losing a leg of power there, 3 years in a row, right on a 1-year mark. The Duke Energy things are water repellent, but they're not water proof. So the water over time seeps in. So our son who lives there would call me and say, the lights are dim again. We'd lose a leg of power. Duke would come out and fix it. We did that 3 years in a row. When Vanessa was president, I got special dispensation to have our box put above ground. So Duke finally came out. I had to go through a big rigmarole, and they came out and our box is above ground. Guess what? I don't have any problems anymore.
Yeah.
But you got to do things that are be solutions, and workable, pragmatic solutions are going to be successful. Drilling holes in to try to pull water out like a sponge. I think that's what you're talking about.
No, see, the drains, we looked at all the drains in the Mews, and they're all full. But then the drain, when you get to the drain that's at the curb that they all spill into, the one that's right on the edge of the curb, that's embedded with grass and everything else.
Dirt, we have to jet it out.
And it almost needs to be cleaned out weekly.
That's a solution for the Mews, but that doesn't help the homes. We have gutters in our house, but the gutters come down and stop. They don't go out to the road.
But it would go onto your lawn.
Yeah, well, there's not enough
These
lawn.
areas don't have
There's not enough
anything.
lawn to
Yeah.
handle the rain that comes off the
Yeah.
structure of the roof. Anyway, we're on a sidebar. I don't want to distract.
Right, but anyway, as Celia said, part of the issues that going forward, the immediate issue at Spring Lake is to clean those out
Yeah,
because they are
everything
full of stuff. Some of them were never connected, they've discovered.
Yeah.
The
That helps the Mews, but the problems are with the other homes there too. The homes.
So anyway, that should get something that looked at, see if Roseville has a similar situation, but this may be a recurring thing. Because when I was looking at this building, all these around the whole building here need to be checked.
Yep.
And
I
scoped.
think it's
You
a
know,
thing throughout the entire town. We need a jet. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had to replace ours. We found
Yeah.
that there was a voltage difference.
Because they just built up stuff over the years.
Homeowners.
Because possibly it may not even be downhill anymore because if the tree roots put a, lump in the middle, it's not even gonna flow.
What's a French drain?
You dig a hole, you put some rocks, and you put piping that has holes in the piping, and water seeps into it, and then it's pumped out with a pump. Well, that's what we had in
Yeah,
New York.
it's very
We needed-
No.
We have that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one way that we can't be putting in pumps.
no, that's it, because
Right.
when the pump goes, the drain don't work.
Yeah, I had a French drain put in last week at my house, because it never was connected to drain from the rear of the house out to the alley. And they're not using gravel now. There's a new porous material. They wrap the porous pipe in. And the point is that the water drips in slowly, and it's not gonna run out of at a high speed. And then there's a little floating cap that goes on the end,
Right.
on the alley side. So we just have to put it in. I don't know how well it's working yet, because things are still pretty soggy. But we almost certainly need a French drain on that side of this building, separate from cleaning out the drains and stuff around this building.
We put that in our yard years ago, works fine,
Would that be a?
connected right to the gutter.
Couldn't possibly be.
And for the sake of trivia,
Or a dry
it's
well.
named French because the guy who invented it was named French.
Oh.
He wasn't French, he was named.
No, he's in New York, and then Henry French or something.
There's also dry well.
And another thing too, in the service areas, there is no budget to clean and jet out all those drains. That's why I think they have not been done for years. It's not included in the landscaping contract. It's not, there's no budget there for it.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that because of that we go and do
I know.
all of them. But on a case-by-case
Case
basis,
basis,
we need, I think this may be a maintenance thing that we're
a
just gonna have to.
preventative maintenance thing that we're gonna have to somehow,
They shouldn't fill up that fast. I mean, I clean my own, take the thing
but
off.
like Spring Lake
Takes a
said,
few
they
minutes.
haven't been cleaned in 5 years.
Yeah.
So gone
6
with
years,
it.
or since the development.
Yeah, so it's every year or two.
Yep.
Depends how much
Every
loose
year.
soil you have floating in your yard.
Something to think about.
That was fun.
Education on drains.
Bringing it back to the original question was the
Was it
pine straw.
pine straw versus mulch?
And the gutters, which are dictated situations, mulch versus pine straw. Pine straw is not set for these locations according to our pattern books and other things. Gutters are not part of the pattern book that are required. So these are things in service areas that if you're requesting homeowners or a change, that is up to the homeowner to take it through covenants and ARC to get that done, and it does not solve the issue for a service area. It may solve it for individual homes if and when it's approved. But that is not going to be a solution for the service area.
I'm
confused.
Mulch is also another big thing. That just needs to be, if pine straw is the way to go, then the mulch verbiage needs to be adjusted in our pattern book and our landscaping and other things that then allow pine straw to be used universally.
I think that's why we brought Vaughn with us to the, that's why I suggested that Vaughn go on the walk with us since he's on the art committee. So when they go before the art committee, he knows exactly what he saw and why we want to change certain things with the landscaping, mulch versus pine straw, and getting rid of bushes and putting sod in place of the bushes so that the sod will absorb the water better than
And as,
Then
all the
just
bushes that are dry.
as a reminder, with at least Roseville, I can say this, is that any landscaping change is on CROA to implement. There is a set landscaping style guide that has been established, and if an individual modifies that, it shifts to their responsibility, and it's no longer CROA's. So.
All those are things that we can look at going forward. Yes, nothing else.
I think a big thing with Roseville is it can't just be one homeowner that puts gutters, because overall in a whole, they need gutters. Every single one of them needs gutters. Because if one person doesn't have it, then the neighbor's lot, it's just a.
Yeah, it affects the neighborhood.
It needs a property solution,
Correct.
not an individual solution.
Correct.
But I think that can go to ARC if there is a solution that covers everybody.
Well, then I mentioned to Natalie too, that I know that ARC has approved those little, like usually most people buy the rubber things that you could put around the edge there,
The metal.
but it's metal that they've approved for some things. That might help somewhat.
We
With-
talked about that.
Yeah.
That wasn't a solution.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe between you and Brian, you can our
Yeah.
Brian, put your heads together and try to find some options. Maybe there's plants that suck up more water or something, or I don't know. Or like Celia said, maybe,
But maybe once those drains are cleaned out,
Right,
maybe it'll start
That's what I'm
a new
hoping.
process that,
And that's
It's the
first step
cheaper
we have to
starting
see.
point then.
Yeah.
Cheaper
than all
start,
other
we gotta get it
alternatives.
cleaned out.
yeah. In the meantime, kind of
Yeah.
get that stuff swim around.
Yep.
In my particular case, as an example, mulch over to the lawn, the landscapers then trimmed and hedged to where the mulch was as opposed to where the lawn was. So much of the grass and drainage areas that would absorb or dissipate the downflows would be removed by the landscapers because of how the mulch extended away from the house. In the course of a couple of years, I went from a 2-inch distance from wall to grass, 2 feet. That's a large square footage of grass that is removed, that is kind of built into how it controls the flow. So any mulch that would be put down, as you talk about the drainage issues, would immediately be washed away because it is now a 2-foot square foot section as opposed to just the 1 inch that went to the side of the house. That's documented from a lot of the landscapers. We have that as a challenge for many years for most locations that are run by service areas.
I've seen that myself just now. Because, there's like, if this is the building and this is the street, the mulch goes all the way up to,
Yeah.
like in some areas, like a foot before the like, I don't know that much left. But
That's
it's
where we're
because-
gonna have to go and.
Exactly what happened.
That was the
Landscaping improvement.
solution that was provided and documented at board meeting at one point. Oh, we'll just put more mulch on it.
No,
I don't know what else you can use besides a weed whacker to trim that up nicely.
Don't trim it at all, let the grass go right up to the shrubs.
Mhm.
As I have insisted at my house and lost.
take the shrubs out and put grass.
No, it's,
Well, I know I've got grass and then I've got the shrubs and then I got this, as your case, starts out this wide and then they trim it and it's this wide, and eventually I've got a channel which brings down all the sand and stuff from back there. If there's mulch there, it holds it for a while, but eventually it all washes away. But each and every week, that trench gets just another half-inch wider. So could you explain that to my wife? Because I've explained it and it hasn't worked yet, but
You're more than welcome to use what I said. It helped.
okay,
Hopefully that
So,
explains.
mental note on all these ideas, or maybe even a handwritten note.
I would love to see when we clean up those drains in Spring Lake.
How
That
much
last
comes-
drain, it's gonna be like a gun.
So to be clear, with Roseville Corner mulch is no longer part of our service budget.
It's
It
not,
is an additional, it is now going to be an additional.
It's not part of the landscaping budget. Is that
But we
right?
are going to, so we're gonna go in the RFP process for each service area this year, because the contract is up at the end of December. So we're gonna be sending out updated scopes of work that we're working on right now. And we're gonna be inviting landscaping companies to come and attend a meeting here. And we're gonna extend what the expectations of celebration is, go over the scope of work with them, and then they're gonna submit RFPs. what we're thinking that would be the better alternative is have each village have an individual landscaping company, that a smaller company that, you know, for each village versus just one large one that
That
just.
will have more sway
Correct.
to do these. things.
Correct.
And maybe be more inclined to use a smaller mower.
Correct.
Instead of the great big ones that just make ruts and
Yeah.
good idea.
Because the other thing that happens when they use the.
Yeah.
lawnmower is
And
you
to also, correct, so that's why I'm
Correct.
thinking, you know, the smaller companies that can also, the ones that know the homeowners by name.
Yeah.
The ones that, you know, that's the bread and butter, and that will service what we need.
Or we could do like I suggested, hire somebody from Grand Manners, go out and get 2 big lawnmowers, not Ryan, 2 blowers, 2 weed whackers, and have
Hey, I like
them
riding on
answer
lawnmowers.
to
so-
Lauren why the grass isn't looking good, because they work for her now, not a landscaping
We're
company.
almost done with Rose.
Yes.
What?
She thinks that's
So we all still got one more to talk about.
Are we leaving this as
Yes, we
is
are.
and then figuring out
The drainage, that's gonna be.
some of the,
Yeah, so we're not making any changes other than.
but we could adjust, we may choose to adjust the type of mulch or,
But we'd have to go through art to do that.
but for now, it's in the budget, we're just approving the budget. All right.
Good.
All right, moving on to Golden Aster.
And thank you for that, David, because I can just talk about mulch all day.
They are at a
Oh,
6:30.
dear. Yes. Fair warning, right?
But I think that that was helpful, just brainstorming a little bit and thinking, you know, other options that won't cost the service area arm and a leg and fix the problem.
It's at multiple levels. I mean, the whole irrigation thing, I mean, case.
Sure.
Okay, Golden Aster, they are fully funded at the reserve.
It's just 3 units.
Services.
Wow, 6.
Why would anybody even build that?
Build a triplex?
Well, no, I mean, build something so small, you combine it with a bigger project. Can't be efficient anyway.
I don't know, maybe they thought that they would sell better than they did. Maybe it seemed like a good idea at the time, and then they sold one, and it's like, yeah, nobody's banging on the door to build more, I don't know. But it is kind of strange. Because it's only one unit.
Yeah, I've seen conversions of 3 units.
Yeah, basically, they're in good shape.
I'm not seeing any issues here.
Mm-mm.
They're in good shape.
You save the easy for last rather than ease us into it.
Consistent approach.
Do
Yeah.
you have any issues? Anything that jumps out at you? No?
Just checking
$24.50
their
loss over the year.
capital spending. Got some shingles in 2023.
'23, they have some asphalt shingle replacement and some small landscaping. But we're fully funding them at their recommended based on the reserve.
They'll have the funds in reserve for that.
Yeah, they'll have plenty of them.
That looks healthy.
They're well funded.
Number of units, 3.
Yeah. Okay. If you have any other questions? If nobody has any other questions, concerns about this or any other ones, I'm guessing we're done. Unless somebody has something else that they want to bring up. See, do you have else want to bring up?
So I just want to make sure these papers I have in front of me moving forward. So I have Academy Road, Blue Sage, East Village. Is there a different service area in East Village, or is that one we just worked on?
That's one we just worked on.
So that can come out. I have North Village, that would be Charleston. Oak Pond,
That
Spring Lake Townhomes, Savannah Square, and South Village, and Spring Lake Gardens. Okay,
And we went with Spring Lake Gardens
right,
yesterday.
those are the ones with the committees. So I'll keep
How much
these
is Spring Lake Garden going up?
We haven't finalized it yet, 'cause we have to make some changes to what they're wanting for landscaping. They're wanting to change it to hand pulling weeds and also mulching twice a year. So we're just waiting to get pricing from Exquisite Landscaping to see how much hand pulling weeds is again.
I'm
Then
sorry,
you guys have
which
had that before.
As it was originally proposed, it was a 14%.
And weeding.
Hand weed,
Which is $133.80 a month.
What?
$133.80 a month.
The weed thing there is terrible. They're supposed to be pulling weeds to begin with, but now they're saying, no, we weren't pulling weeds, we're putting chemicals on and.
That's
the
Very
contract
good
changed.
excuse.
The contract changed. So originally, and Betty Zippin explained this to me, because I obviously don't know the full history, but she explained to me that she's on the committee. That originally they were paying for hand pulling of weeds. At one of the budgets, the assessments were gonna go up high, so they decided to cut the hand pulling of weeds and just spray chemicals to save money. But now they're seeing that the chemical is not working, especially in the summer with rains going on the weeds, and it's not being effective of killing the weeds. So they're requesting a price to go with hand pulling of weeds again. That's what was expected.
I don't have the full history on the committee. I don't know what it consists of now, but I was involved 4 years ago or whatever. But check the members of the committee and how many are employing another contractor to supplement what the town is doing in the service area.
Like, is anybody else getting work on their own besides the landscaper?
A couple people have.
I know Gary does his own yard. I know
Chris now has to.
Chris.
Most
No.
of your committee is gonna either be doing their own and told people to stay off their property, or they have put somebody in there like Justin.
Joe does his
Joe.
own.
Yeah, Joe and his wife, the older couple, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, very vocal. So I think probably 80% of the committees doing their own are not involved in the service area, because they're making decisions for everybody else.
No, Betty doesn't do her own.
There's one.
Yeah, but they couldn't get anybody to be on the committee.
Neither does
No, they got people.
Debbie.
She was
Debbie
there
doesn't-
the other day,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'll give you, because we're just talking about things, I'll give you another little piece of history. So when the committee was put together, the formation of the committee, there was a vote that was held, and there's a certain number of votes you have to get from the members of the service area for it to pass, and for the committee to be installed. This goes back to CCMC days. I think I told you this story, David. And they didn't get enough votes, and they knew that. They didn't open the ballots. Then when we made the charter changes, the number required by service area went down. So then they had those ballots from the previous election during the time under the old charter, and they opened those ballots and counted them and put the service organization in place. I hollered follow and talked to a couple of people, and they said, no, we talked to Tom Slayton. He said that was legal. I said, well, maybe legal, but the optics of it are not very damn good. I'm telling you, that's history.
And something else just popped into my head. So you're talking about weeds that's growing amongst the mulch.
Mulch inside garden beds, inside bushes, inside.
Well,
It's
this
just
was
popped in-
all over the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. no
But this
park.
just popped into my head. Back home, we didn't use mulch, we used rocks. You know, like
Mhm.
around our bushes
I-
and stuff.
I-
But before you put the rocks down,
You put a layer of the
you put a
black
layer
stuff.
of the black stuff or the heavier gauge plastic
Mhm.
stuff
Mhm.
to discourage weeds from growing to those things. So instead of having 12, you might have one that just kind of sneak through and
Well,
whatever.
that's expensive.
Well.
But no, I'm not talking about rock.
No, they're little, I'm talking about pebbles, it was just.
There are,
Yeah, no,
there
we
are,
can't do
it
that.
depends on the
Yeah.
rock.
I'm talking about, would there be any benefit to having that black
Laid
stuff
everywhere?
underneath the mulch?
I don't know, that's something we can ask.
There would
We
be,
can ask.
but we'd be buying acres of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then when the
that's
mulch,
something
when the mulch washes away, because we have that at the
And
terraces.
you have the black.
The
we can
mulch,
ask if that thing.
you see the black stuff.
And it doesn't last forever, so every 8-10 years you're gonna have to replace it.
Just a thought.
I know exactly. I did that before I put my gray slate rock or black slate rock, whatever it's called.
Yeah, we put rocks down and then somebody from Covenant said we couldn't do that,
No, we can't do that.
but it looked great with the rock.
Yeah, no rocks. Okay, so we've gone through our 4 service areas. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? If there's nothing else?
So moved or second, whatever is needed. Moved, thank you.
Second.
Okay. Then we are done.
Feel like that, Jim? No 5 hours. Take the rest of the day off.
Next meeting is next Wednesday,
I
right?
can't. I have to-
Wednesday, we have appeals